Hey guys, Mike here. So today, I'm here to talk to you about 2014's Interstellar, starring Matthew McConaughey as Cooper. In Interstellar, a team of explorers travel through a wormhole in space to ensure humanity's survival. And so we have Interstellar. So guys, today's review was requested by my brother Andy, who has been for ages now telling me to re-watch Interstellar. And obviously you can gather from context that I have in fact seen this film before. I watched this film quite close to when it actually came out, though I didn't actually see it in the cinema. But when I first watched Interstellar, I remember thinking that I do see the appeal of this film. I just didn't really think it was all that. It was definitely visually stunning and really well acted, but it was very confusing, and I just personally didn't think it was all that at the end of the day. But for a while now, I've been really meaning to rewatch this one to see if there was something I missed the first time around, or if, as a whole, I just enjoyed this film much more a second time around. So, with that, what did I think of Interstellar the second time round? Well, first of all, you can't talk about Interstellar without talking about the powerhouse at the time, Matthew McConaughey, who was pretty much right in the middle of his McConaissance. Now, that's not to say that Matthew McConaughey nowadays isn't a very sought-after actor and isn't still really well respected by everyone. But from pretty much 2013 to 2014, Matthew McConaughey was the big guy. The actor who everyone wanted in their movies. Pretty much from Wolf of Wall Street, Dallas Buyers Club, True Detective, and obviously Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey was just on everyone's radar, and for good reason. I mean, this film alone, the performance that Matthew McConaughey gives is just nothing short of amazing. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to say it was his best performance ever, because there are other films which I do think he is much better in. But that's not to take away from this film. He is still really incredible. The scene where he's watching videos of his kids pretty much growing up alone was amazing. And it's just one of those scenes that just really stays with you. Just imagining all this time you've missed with your kids and them end up being older than you are is just insane. And Matthew McConaughey just really excels in this scene. And just the rest of the film as well. He's really charming, funny, charismatic, just pretty much those usual Matthew McConaughey traits which he really just brings brilliantly into each one of his roles. And the rest of the supporting cast are really good as well. I did really like the dynamic between him and Anne Hathaway's character, because normally in these films the main male actor and the main female actor have to always get together. It's just pretty much a rule of Hollywood movies. But not this film. Oh no, no. This film decides to do something a little bit out of the ordinary. It shows them mistrusting each other, shows them disagreeing with one another, but at the same time having a level of respect for one another that they could actually competently work well together. And as well, I just loved the robots in this film. Definitely a very, very unique design. And the amount of things they're able to do with these robots is just incredible. And they also played off really well comedically with the human characters as well. Honestly, some of my favourite scenes in this film were between Matthew McConaughey and the robots. But then as well, there is just so much you have to wrap your head around in this film. They deal with fifth-dimensional beings, they deal with time travel, complex space equations, just so much stuff is thrown at you. But at the same time, they make it understandable without seeming like they're pandering to the audience. But obviously there is still some stuff which will go over people's head, mine included. Because try as I might, there is still some stuff in this film, even on a second watch, where I'm like, huh? Another thing I really like about Interstellar as well, that even though it is set in the future, I'm not really sure what year it's set in. It's got to at least be like the late 21st century, probably early 22nd century. But really the thing I love is the fact that it manages to make space travel grounded in reality, whilst at the same time giving it a sci-fi feel. Because their space travel may be a little bit out of the realms of reality for our modern day, but at the same time, this level of space travel definitely feels achievable. Because don't get me wrong, I love sci-fi. I love the kind of sci-fi where it makes space travel just feel like going around to the local shop. But in this film, they managed to really enforce the dangers of space travel. It's not just going to be easy sailing where the computers pretty much have to just do everything for them. They show in this film that every single one of their maneuvers is calculated and has to be planned ahead of time. And even when they're improvising, there's just still so much that has to go into that. And as well, the fact that they make everything in the exterior of the spaceship completely silent. Because realistically, that's what it would be like in space. There's just no sound traveling in space. Now, I don't think Interstellar was the first movie to do this, but this is one of the first ones I remember doing this. But honestly, the thing I really detest most about this film, and I honestly think with a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies, is the fact of the constant changing of aspect ratio, where one minute the scene will be full aspect ratio, everything is seen on the screen, then all of a sudden, boom, black bars. Now, obviously, I understand why this happens. The fact that the whole film is not filmed entirely in IMAX. The fact that sometimes it's 35mm as opposed to 70mm. I understand that, but when this is changing constantly, like every 5 minutes, or sometimes within the space of like 10 seconds, it changes like 3 times, it becomes incredibly distracting. I can understand it if it was the fact of that whenever they're in space, full aspect ratio, whenever they're on Earth, cropped aspect ratio. That would have been completely fine, that would have made artistic sense. But it's the fact that, like, it just changes at random just so many times. And then sometimes they'll have full aspect ratio for about, like, 3 seconds, and then they'll just go back to normal. Again, I want to stress, I understand the reason for this, but when you've spent $165 million on your movie, I think you can stretch to have, you know, full aspect ratio for your whole movie. I mean, this movie come close to making $700 million. I think they could have afforded it. Honestly, for me, it's an issue of committing. Either have it full aspect ratio or don't. Just pick one. I won't mind which one you do, just commit to one of them. But to be honest, that's really my only major gripe for this film. I do still think there are just so much things which is very debatable about this film. Whether fifth dimensional beings can possibly exist, or whether this level of time travel and whatnot is actually possible. But the thing about Interstellar, it makes it feel like it's possible, because we don't know everything about our universe or the dimensions in which it exists in. Overall, guys, Interstellar was definitely worth watching the second time round. I really enjoyed this film. I would say definitely more so than I did the first time. The performances are phenomenal. It makes everything understandable. The CGI and effects look gorgeous. It's brilliant directed, it's entertaining, and as a whole, this is just a really enjoyable film. But do I think you guys should watch this one? Absolutely, I would definitely recommend, despite my gripes that I have with this film, that you should really watch Interstellar. And honestly, if you didn't enjoy it the first time around, I would say give it maybe a couple of months or even a couple of years and then come back to it. I think you'll enjoy it much more the second time round. But in any case, I would say watch Interstellar. Okay guys, that's my review of Interstellar. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think I should watch next? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!